Hey guys, how y'all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic and welcome back to the channel. And today, if you guys, this is another movie review. Today we're tackling the latest Sony movie, MCU adjacent movie, Venom 3, Venom: The Last Dance. Now, yeah, I did want to see this movie sooner, so, sorry, but life. But yeah, obviously I'm not going to be spoiling anything in this film. It is still pretty fresh in theaters, so if you do have a chance, if you're interested, go to the theater and see Venom: The Last Dance. But yeah, I mean, look. The Venom movies have a weird, spot in my comic book repertoire, I guess, right? Because like Venom 1 came out in 2018. I was still in high school, and I remember when that trailer dropped and he's freaking out at the MRI table, and me and my buddy between classes were like, "This looks kind of weird," And then the first movie, it was good. I enjoyed it for the most part. It's fine, above average. And then Venom: Let There Be Carnage came out, and Andy Serkis directed. I was like, okay, the Gollum guy, and Haddock, and Snoke, and Null, and other people are doing this that he voices, and he directed it. I'm like, oh, cool, this will be great. And it was whatever. To me, Venom: Let There Be Carnage is not bad. Like, it's not as bad as Morbius or Madam Web, but it did kind of feel to me that there was some missed potential. It felt like a Batman Tim Burton '89 thing, which was kind of weird. So yeah, none of these movies are bad, the Venom movies, and Venom Let There Be the Last Dance of Venom. Venom 3 is in my opinion probably, I would say, the best out of the three. It seems like whenever Sony is making like Into or Across the Spider-Verse or Venom trilogy, that's good. But then you get to Madam Web or Morbius, which look, they're not the worst movies ever made, but there is, with Sony, there is this aura around them. This, I don't even want to say stereotype because it's pretty much effing true. Where, they're like the little brother of the MCU, right? The MCU, for the most part, is like top tier comic book films. Like they're like the go-to comic book film. And then you get to Sony and whatnot, and they're like, they're there, I mean they're fun, they're existing in the corner. But then you get this aura online that you see on especially Twitter, where people are like, it's a Sony movie, it's Venom, just go into it expecting stupid dumb fun. Don't turn your brain off and laugh and have some fun. It's not high art, it's just Venom. Forget But I think that's where Sony kind of gets the shit wrong. Because you shouldn't want to, as Sony executives or directors or filmmakers or writers or actors, whoever, and audiences, we shouldn't go into these Sony movies like Madam Web, Morbius, Venom 1, 2, 3, or even freaking Craven in December. We shouldn't go into these Sony movies thinking in our minds, it's just dumb fun. It's just, it's a guilty pleasure movie. They're bad, but, it's memes, like, I get it. Still recovering from a cough. Morbius is not great, okay? I think everyone in the world agrees on that. But it's not the worst movie ever made either, but, there's clearly a lot of memes, right? The weird dance in the bathroom, it's Morbin time. When you get these types of memes, the internet goes freaking bonkers with them, and then you end up with, again, Sony thinking that, oh my god, Morbius is a big success. And then they release it a second time and no one effing sees it. They make like $20. And they're like, what happened? It's like, no, we don't love your movie. We love memeing your movie. We like making fun of you. I don't. Morbius was whatever, not that great, but whatever. It just feels weird that, they're like I said, there's this weird aura around these Sony movies where, obviously for a reason, right? They're not the best movies ever made. But I think we shouldn't go into these movies expecting, obviously high art, because it's freaking Venom, but we also shouldn't be expecting some dumb, horrible trash that we could just laugh at for an hour and a half, be like, it's stupid, and then just go home, This movie is good. Like, they're trying things with Venom 3, Venom 1 and 2, they're fine, and they're easily the best out of the live-action Sony films, but, obviously, Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 are their own kind of thing, but what's also really great is that, obviously, thanks to the multiverse saga and all that, like I said, Venom 1 came out when I was in high school, and there was no connection, right? It was like there's Sony and the MCU. Legally, they're in their own little playing field, right? You can't cross the beams in the stream, so to speak. Now, you got freaking Eddie Brock in the first 5 minutes of this movie referencing Thanos in the bar. You know what I mean? Like, you know how crazy that is that we're in this world where you can get like Spider-Man No Way Home, Deadpool and Wolverine across the Spider-Verse. Hell, the Spider-Man 2 PS5 game and the Miles Morales game, the Spider-Man 1 for PS4, those games are part of the MCU now too, through the multiverse, right? It's insane how much this stuff is connected. It's really, really cool. And, you know, regardless of whether you like Morbius or not, it's part of the MCU through the multiverse, right? Same with Venom and all that. And that's what's really cool about it, is that you have this connectivity. But as a film itself, again, Venom 3 is, I would say, the best out of the three. As far as negatives, without ruining anything, there is some weird, I'll just say it, the movie starts out with a flashback. It's kind of weird, because I can't effing stand when movies start out with flashbacks. It just seems lazy. It seems like an exposition dump, like someone's barfing out information, like you're reading a freaking novel, or like, you know, a student essay, and it's just like an intro paragraph of just garbage, and that's kind of what it feels like. I get it. You got to tell your audience who the hell Null is, and what's going on, and why he's bad, and the xenomorphs or whatever. I get it. But there are different ways to do that that don't feel as preachy and here's some information, you know what I mean, like the first literal seconds of the movie. So that's kind of off-putting at the beginning. There's also like a really, this doctor, I don't even know her name, the weird, she looks like a Whoville from like The Grinch. Not to say, you know, she's ugly, but that's what she looks like. And she's got blonde hair and all that. It's like Mindy Cindy Lou or whatever from The Grinch fucking grew up, and she's like studying symbiotes. But, you know, she's like this doctor character, and she kind of has this weird flashback of stuff. And it does feel kind of forced and kind of, what's going on? You know, it felt like I was watching a different movie. So there's, you know, there's some weird backstory things, some weird editing that's a little bit odd. There's moments where, you know, Eddie is talking to the weird hippie guy, who is actually Kurt Connors, the Lizard, in the Amazing Spider-Man universe. So clearly this, I guess, is not the same universe, or they're just, you know, happens to be the same actor. But no, they are that guy in the hippie van from GTA San Andreas is not, he's not Kurt Connors. But, you know, there's moments where they're interacting and like the camera just kind of lingers on them, and they're like just kind of sitting around looking at nothing for a second. It's like you could have cut like 4 effing seconds ago. Or like Eddie's talking to Venom, you know, after that, like the swimming scene from the trailer, and he's like, oh yeah, man, you know, we're in the shit, man. And he's like, oh, this, oh, and then like Venom goes back in Eddie through his chest or whatever, and then Eddie's just kind of like looking around. He's like, I'm like, what the? Is he actually fucking drunk? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? It's really weird editing. And some of that is, I get it. You know, like I said, I wasn't expecting high art from Venom 3, but I was expecting quality, right? Like, no one should walk into any Marvel film expecting trash. And it's not. But, you know, I was expecting a little bit more than that, and there are good moments. I'm going to get to that. But as far as negatives, again, there's some really weird exposition dumps, weird writing where this character's on a beach with another character, and they're kids, and the girl talks to the sister talks to the brother, and she's like, hey, twin brother, we got to be careful. And I'm like, don't say twin brother for God. You know what I mean? It's like that season in Ninjago, where it's season 7, Hands of Time, where Nia and Kai are fighting the Hands of Time, Crux and Necronics, and Nia's like, I got you, brother, and Kai's like, thanks, sister, and I'm like, don't. The audience is not brain dead. We know you're effing siblings, you know what I mean? There's other ways, like I'm trying to say, there are some weird writing inconsistencies and just weird writing things in general where I'm like, alright, you could have written that. Again, I'm not a writer, so don't be like, oh, you do better. I probably could do better, alright? The people that, you know, I record voices for could do better for these Discord things. Ninjago, I mean, it just feels really weird that you get these, you know, sometimes really great scripts, and then you get others where it's like, yeah, all right, you know, and the script isn't all bad, but there's just a few lines in there that are a little bit cringy, a little bit wonky and weird. But other than that, I mean, as far as the positive, it does pretty much outshine the negative. You know, obviously Eddie Brock and Venom, you know, both played by Tom Hardy. This is probably his best performance as Eddie and Venom. I think that, you know, he does a really good job. Like, Venom's effing real. He does a really good job of kind of portraying that character, which is cool. You know, the trailers kind of portray this emotional beat and this emotional aspect to the film. And look, I didn't cry, but without spoilers, yeah, this is the most emotional Sony movie probably ever, okay? Like, my mom would cry, but I wouldn't. You know what I mean? And I love Venom. So I mean, whatever. But I think that they try to do a Ninjago season 3, if you know what I mean, and it works to an extent. It feels a little forced, but I think it works for the most part of what they were trying to do. So yeah, this is an emotional film, especially toward the third act. A lot of crazy stuff goes down, which I think one of the big reviews on like the posters, like these kind of posters, are like, oh, the third act is bonkers or something like that, like something about the third act. And yeah, it is bonkers. It's insane. Nothing, oh my god, Endgame level, but it was cool. They did something unique, which I've never seen in these types of films, which is cool. I respect that. CGI, of course, pretty good. A lot of this is CGI, right? There's a lot of symbiote stuff, a lot of those weird Xenogorgies or whatever they're called. So again, some of it does look a bit blurry. Some of it does kind of all blend together into just like colors of mush, because the symbiotes are like gooey things. So some of it can be a little bit lost in translation type thing. The scene where Eddie gets on the Venom horse, it's very brief, but again, you can clearly tell that Eddie is a CGI Eddie, the human. Not bad, but it does stick out pretty bad. The motion was pretty horrendous on that. But it's not all bad. Like I said, I do, for the most part, enjoy the CGI. I like the camaraderie between Eddie and Venom. I like the story and what they were doing with it. There were a few moments where that doctor shows up, and I was like, all right, what does this have to do with that, right? Like when Eddie goes, meets with the hippie family, I'm like, what's the point of this hippie family? Like, they're singing. There's like a whole montage of them singing in a freaking band. And I'm sitting there like, all right, it's kind of funny, okay, all right. And then it keeps going. And I'm like, why? What's the point? I get it. Eddie needs transportation and he finds a family. I get it. But like, what's the thematic reasoning behind these characters, this family? And it does become apparent why they're there, right? I'm not going to tell you what happens in the end of the film, but it is there, you know what I mean? So like the stuff the flashback with the doctor and the family stuff in the van, it does seem a little forced and a little weird, a little, completely out of left field, but it does have a conclusion. It does, obviously have a point A to point B type scenario within the narrative, and it makes sense. I think it was funny. This is probably the funniest Venom movie. It's not a comedy, but it is probably the funniest. Again, by the third Venom film, Eddie and Venom are pretty much their buddies, even though they kind of bicker and bitch at each other, and oh, you're such a moron, and oh, shut up, brother. I get it. It's funny. But they do love each other in a friendship kind of way. Venom 2 had this weird, like, ooh, they're actually gay. No, they're not. They're just good friends. The internet is completely insane, and they take whatever chance they get to be weird. But no, they're just good friends, and they're like family, right? I mean, I'm not going to ruin it, but there's some pretty crazy stuff that happens in this movie. And try your best not to get spoiled, because thankfully I didn't. But they're all over the internet, so be careful. The music is fine, nothing stood out, but it wasn't bad or anything. I think that, there are 2 post-credit scenes, so that's cool. So make sure to stay for both. There is one at the very, very, very end of the credits, so you'll see like the Sony logo. Stay. There's a lot of people in my theater walking out of that theater, and I'm like, have you seen a Marvel movie before? Are you stupid? There's 2, so 2, okay? So trust me on that. The action scenes are freaking amazing for a Venom movie, you know what I mean? I think, obviously, the river stuff, the end fight is really great. So yeah, the action is definitely the best out of the 3. Mrs. Chen returns in kind of pointless cameo, honestly. She doesn't really do a whole lot. She just kind of dances. It's fun to see her, I guess. She was in Venom 1. I think she was in 2. Yeah, she was in Venom 1, 2, and 3. And I believe Across the Spider-Verse as well, which, again, all this stuff is thankfully connected. But, she's in it. The villain Null, I think he is voiced by Andy Serkis, just like every CGI guy now. So it's a bit, I heard his voice and I was like, of course it's Andy Serkis. Like, who else would it be? But I think he does a fine job. I mean, Andy Serkis is like your token guy. He's good, but he's predictable, and he just sounds like Snoke and Haddock and Gollum and whoever, it's whatever. But at the same time, I think that he is an interesting villain, Null. He doesn't do anything in the movie, so that's cool. He just kind of sits around all the time. But obviously, without ruining things, they are clearly planning something with this villain for future whatever, either future Sony movies, Spider-Man 4, maybe, who knows. But Null is they're really trying to make Null this menacing, looming threat for some kind of future thing, which is good, because like I was telling my one buddy that we've become accustomed in Marvel movies now to see a villain and then that villain dies in that same movie. You know, there are exceptions, but a lot of the times you see, you know, Killmonger or Malekith or whoever, and you're like, oh, this villain's cool. Oh, he's dead. Okay. That's cool. Who's the next guy? Gore the God Butcher. Whoa! He's a big villain, and oh, he's dead. Okay. You know, so it's not... They're clearly trying to you know, kind of do something different, which is, I don't know why I just did that, but they're trying to do something different, which is good. And I respect that, you know, I mean, like, look, Venom 3, they're doing something different, which is really great. So no, I mean, look, I get it. These Sony movies, they are memeable, they're memeable, but I think if you kind of step away from the memes for a second, step away off Twitter, don't go into this expecting garbage. Like, this is it's fun. It's a good movie, okay? I don't love it, but it's not a train wreck, and it's not just, oh, memes, huh? You know, like, no, there's some quality stuff to this film. There's some quality stuff to this entire trilogy. And it is weird that Venom and Spider-Man never meet, but at the same time, you know, in this entire, that's kind of weird. He's a Spider-Man villain. But obviously, you know, maybe they'll do something in the future. I have no idea. But again, it's a funny movie. It's fun. It's very entertaining. It's shocking and it's emotional, surprisingly. Not maybe as emotional as what they wanted it to be. And, you know, maybe I think they wanted me to actually, like, sob like a baby. But, you know, there were some moments where I'm like, oh, you know, they got me. And there's one shot at the end. I'm like, oh, that's... You know what I mean? I was like, that's crazy. But, no, I think it was pretty good overall. Like I said, easily, I would say the best out of the three. Probably the best live-action Sony movie in quite some time, which is nice. We'll have to see how good Craven is. But, no, I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? I think it's pretty good. Madam Web, it was the worst film I've seen this year. And I think, as far as comic book movies, I would go Deadpool and Wolverine, Joker 2, Venom 3, and then Madam Web, for sure. Yeah, I think it was good, though, for sure. I mean, I did enjoy it. Again, a few weird writing things, a few weird editing things. There's this one, like, army general guy, so, like, I don't know the guy, the black dude from Doctor Strange. I don't remember his name. Strickland? I think his name's Strickland in this. Not the same guy as Doctor Strange. Different thing. Just same actor. But, you know, like, Strickland's army buddy, he has, like, a few scenes, and he's, like, really awkward. I think maybe he was nervous on set, but he was like, sir, we have a mission, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then, like, I don't know, certain weird moments, weird editing choices, but overall, you know, it's not bad. I just wish that the movie's editing and writing was as competent as the action and the story and the comedy, you know, because a lot of this does work, but the stuff that doesn't work, it does kind of stick out like a sore symbiote thumb, which is a bit of a shame. But I did enjoy it for the most part. Again, you know, having seen it in theaters, I'm glad that I was able to witness the end of this trilogy in theaters. Kind of cool. And yeah, overall, I think this is not, you know, the best thing the entire year, but it's a lot better than what I thought it was going to be, considering the first two were just kind of above average. They're fine. This one's slightly above that to make it, you know, I'd say it was good. You know, I mean, not great, it was good. So I'd probably give Venom The Last Dance probably, I don't know, I'll probably give it a B+. It was good. You know what I mean? I will buy it on Blu-ray, obviously. Like I said, it's connected to the MCU through the multiverse, but I also enjoyed it, even if it wasn't connected to anything. You know, I mean, I'm going to buy this one for sure on Blu-ray and complete the trilogy. You know, I got the first two on Blu-ray. So, yeah, I enjoyed Venom The Last Dance. It makes sense why it's called that in the end, which is cool. But, yeah, man, overall, I enjoyed it. It was a heck of a lot of fun, and better than what I thought for sure. But, you know, still not perfect. Again, a few little hiccups along the way. But, if you, again, it seems counterintuitive to say, you know, oh, it's a fun time. But, again, I really can't stand those reviews where they're like, oh, just turn your brain off and just poop your pants like a toddler. Like, it's stupid fun. Like, no, they're trying to tell an emotional story, and they're trying to do metaphors and all that with this family, and, you know, they're trying to do different things. So, no, it's not just turn your brain off, stupid baby dumb fun. You need to use your brain, which is good. You know, obviously you had to for the first two, but this one really kind of demands more critical thinking skills in a way. So yeah, I think, you know, I commend them for that, you know, at least for doing something different with the storytelling. So yeah, man, pretty good time. A few things that I didn't really enjoy, but overall I enjoyed it. So tell me down below in the comments if you've seen Venom: The Last Dance, what your thoughts on it. And again, please don't spoil it in the comments. It basically just came out, like not even a week ago. So, you know, please, you know, don't be a turd in the comments. But I enjoyed it. Like I said, B+, and I'll be buying it on Blu-ray. And I think overall it was a satisfying end of the trilogy, and I had a lot of fun. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.